Hi everybody, welcome to Missy's Imaginings. I hope you're doing well. Today is, what is today? Today is September 27th, yes, and it is about midday. I did work overtime today, so I was in early this morning, and I'm home now, and it is rainy and cloudy, which I love because I just hate it when it's really hot. So yes, so we're finally getting some cooler weather. I hope everything is well with you. I have my new glasses on. I'm still trying to get used to them. They're a little bit stronger than my old ones. And I wasn't thinking, well, my thinking was I didn't want to pay anything extra other than what insurance would cover. But I should have. I should have gone for a couple of the extra features because they are very heavy. I did not get the lightweight plastic. I think these ones are actually glass, and they are quite heavy. So I'm still getting used to them, but I have them on because I wanted to check the calendar. Today's the 27th, which means we have this weekend, and then we have one more weekend in October, which would be, for me, the 4th, 5th, and 6th of October, that I have before the week of the doll show, which is the Wagon Wheel Dollars show at the Polk County Fairgrounds. And I'll go ahead and put a picture here so that it won't be flipping around on this little piece of paper. It is on, the address is 520 Pacific Highway West, Rickreall, Oregon. And so it's off of 22. There is a little map on the flyer here, I guess. So, yeah, it's real close to the junction for Highway 22, and the north-south is Highway 99. So it's right there at the junction, kind of for 22 and 99. And let's see, what else is important? So the date will be October 12th. The early entrance is at 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock a.m. If you want an early entrance, the admission is $10. But the regular sale hours are 10 to 3 p.m. and the admission is $7. Children 10 years and under are free. There's dolls, bears, books, toys, miniatures, and related items. Polk County Fairgrounds. And there is going to be concessions for breakfast and lunch. So, yeah, we had a really, really good vendor for concessions. And then when COVID hit, they had to shut all that down. Well, they shut the whole show down for a while. But then the first couple times we came back, we still couldn't have a vendor for concessions, but now we do again, and they're really good. I usually get breakfast and lunch there during the show. So yeah, so this is the flyer for that show. I will be there. My table is already booked. So I will love it if some of you would like to go to that show. And I will have this series on the table, both displayed and for sale. I'm just getting too many doll clothes. So I don't need as many as I have, and I keep creating new things, but as attached as I am to some of these looks, I really do like them. I'm very tickled with how the collection is turning out, but I have so much stuff. And I've already determined that the handbox sets that I made for these guys, I will keep. It's just one of my favorite looks for them, so that one I'll keep. But these ones will be for sale. So far, we have finished the red, the orange, the yellow, the green, the blue. And then today, we will be working on the purple outfit. And since we're getting down to the end, on the purple outfit, the coat, of course, will be different. The pants will be one of the three patterns. I don't remember. I haven't even opened the bag yet. And then the shirt will be a little different on this one because it will be the tank top. But it's going to be very, very simple. So I think we're just going to go over how to sew the coat, because that's the only thing that will be different. All the pant variations have been covered in these 5 videos, and the tank top will be a quick, this is what it looks like, this is how you do it, very fast. So we probably won't show a lot of that, so we'll mainly show the coat. Before we move the camera, I just want to say thank you to all of you who have subscribed. I appreciate it so much. Thank you to all of you who may be checking out the channel and you've just come across it for some reason in your feed and you decided to stay around and watch a video. Thank you so much. And thank you for turning on the notifications or liking and commenting. I try to get back to as many comments as I can, which sometimes they're a little delayed because of my work schedule, but I try to get back to them. And so if you have a question or something like that, then you can do that. You can also find me on Instagram. It's Missy's Imaginings on Instagram as well. And I do have a Facebook page that I try to keep people updated through my Facebook page, mostly because some of the groups that I'm in, and some of you are part of those groups, it's easier for me to share, like when I have a new video or a new pattern available, just to share the post from my own page rather than trying to create a new post in every single group. So that's mainly the reason that I have the Facebook page. It's just easier to make things more accessible for you guys so that you get the information faster, and it's easier for me to just take that little post that I put once, I create the post on my Facebook page, and then I can share it to the group so that you all can be aware when there's a new pattern available. There was a weird thing, and I still don't know if it was like a fraudulent hacker or whatever that was giving all sorts of warnings on the page, because I did report, like, I don't know why I'm getting this, and then it kind of calmed down, so I haven't gotten any more of those weird warnings, but nothing ever happened on the page, so it was never taken down. And so I'm wondering if those were just like, you know, phishing things. I'm not sure. But so far, as far as I know, the page is still there, and it just provides faster access, and it's easier for me to make sure everybody knows about the new patterns and such. So any of those platforms, whether here on YouTube or on Instagram or on Facebook, you can usually find me. It's always just Missy's Imaginings. So no space. Oh, and then the website, of course, is where the patterns are, and that's Missy'sImaginings.com. All little letters, no spaces, so that you can access the patterns. They are available for free, and all you have to do is scroll down through the blog posts, or you can use the menu at the top of the site, and that way you can go to a specific size that you may be wanting. Perhaps you want 3rd scale male dolls, you might want 3rd scale female dolls, you might want 4th scale female or male dolls, but that way you can use the menu and find patterns faster that are more specific to your needs. So that being said, thank you for those of you who follow or like things or comment on any of those platforms. It's a little bit for me to try to maneuver them all. Instagram doesn't get as much as attention as maybe it should, but I do try to post pictures of finished projects and whatnot on there. So thank you again for following me, for subscribing, and for just interacting in our little community. I'm so tickled that that we're growing and that it's still fresh and people want to join and be a part. So thank you for coming along. Thank you for stopping by. And yeah, we'll go ahead and switch up the camera so that we're looking at our workspace. We'll get the machine out and we'll start with the purple coat and see how far we get. All right, we'll take a look at what we have. First, we'll take a look at the tank top, just because it's very, very simple. It's 2 pieces, and so right now I have the pieces, they're cut of a black knit fabric. They're folded on the center front and center back. When you take a look at them, the piece that has the lower neckline is the front, and the piece with the higher neckline and the deeper cut. What was that? Oh, I think my phone made a noise. Maybe. Okay. All right. Take all that out. The first thing we're going to look at is our tank top. So this is cut from a black knit fabric, which means it is not going to fray very much, and it is stretchy. And I cut it so that the stretch goes across primarily, but there is a four-way stretch in this fabric. But primarily the grain of the fabric is going down, and that gives it stretch this way. So when you look at the pattern pieces, right now they're folded on the center front and the center back. When you take a look at the pieces, and I'm going to put my piece of paper here behind them so they'll show a little bit better. I'm going to line up the hemline. The piece with the lower neckline is the front piece, and the piece with the higher neckline and the deeper cut arm is the back, because it's more of a racer style back. So to put this together, all I need to do, so it's going to be really fast, the stretch allows this to go over the doll's head when finished. So with right sides together, and on this knit, I'm guessing it won't show up on the camera at all, but you can see not only fuzzies that it's picked up, but you can see the grain of the knit fabric on one side, and then on the inside it looks more like a meshy type look to it, so that's the inside of the fabric. So what I'm going to do with right sides together is I'm going to connect the shirt at the shoulders. Then I'm simply going to, because it's really stretchy, I'm just going to turn that neckline down towards the inside at about 1/4 of an inch and just sew it around. So that's all I'm going to do on the neckline. Then you have a couple different options. The first one is probably what I'll do is once that's done and put together, I will then do the same thing to the arm openings before I put the sides together. You can put the sides together first and then go ahead and hem. The only difference that can happen is if you hem it first and then put the sides together, you'll want to make sure that the top edge is nice and flush, so you don't end up with like say we're putting it together. You want that to be nice and flush under the arm with a smooth line. And what can happen is if you hem them separately, sometimes you can end up with a little bit of a jog, and it can look kind of like this. Let's get our paper behind. So it can look kind of like the edges don't line up perfectly, and then it kind of looks a little wonky. But if you put the sides together first and then hem it, then all of that is going to turn down and look real smooth. It just kind of depends on how much room you have to maneuver around in your sewing machine. And because doll clothing is a lot smaller than people clothing, so sometimes if this circle is already put together, then once you try to get that in your machine, you're just going to have to maneuver a lot as you go around the circle because you don't have a lot of room right there. So it's kind of up to you what you're most comfortable doing, but then once the sides are together, then I'll hem the bottom. But that's all you do to the tank top is shoulders, hem the neckline, hem the arms, and then do the sides and hem, or shoulders, hem the neckline, do the sides, hem the arms, hem the bottom. It's really up to you, however you want to do it, because that's all it entails. And because it's stretchy, once it's done, it'll go over the doll's head. No worry about closures or anything like that. The pants for this look will be the same as the yellow pants, so they are the slim cut pants. There will be no pleat on the front. It'll just be a flat front. Then once I get the pants together, I will put a dart in the back to fit the doll, and then I'll put the waistband on, do the closure, and the pants are done. So these are just like the yellow pants in putting this set together. No variations. They'll be exactly the same, but they're purple. Okay, now on to the coat. Here we go. Let's take a look at our pieces. We have the sleeve. We have the, let's grab it here. We have the back, like this. The coat will have a very narrow collar. The coat also has a lot of these little placards, and I have cut a lot of the facings, well, all the facing, but I had to cut a lot of them. The facings out of cotton, and I did that just because before we had pieces that had been folded and cut kind of like, so they opened up like this, and then I was able to fold them and make the little points and put those on the jacket. But this jacket has a lot more, and I also thought it might be fun to just do a different way to put them together. And so I'm going to be sewing the right side of the vinyl and the right side of the fabric together, and then take a 1/4 inch seam allowance and then turn them right side out, so that all of them will have this as the backing on the back of the little placards that go on the jacket. So I have all of those cut. The facing of this coat will be this fabric for the back facing, just to reduce bulk. I did cut one of the vinyl, but I don't think I'm going to use it. I'm just going to use this one to reduce bulk in around the collar. But the front will have the facing out of the vinyl because it's going to turn and be able to be seen, and so I wanted it to be the vinyl both when the jacket is closed and then if it turns out a little bit. I wanted to see this rather than a fabric like we did on a couple of other ones. Okay, the last note we'll look at for the pieces for the coat is the pattern includes both the V or pointed front where the point comes down in the center front, and there is an option for just a straight hem in the front. So you can pick whichever one you want. They're both included in the pattern. So this is the cropped purple coat. It is more of a fitted coat, kind of like the yellow one, but the style is just, the yellow one was short, but not as fitted, I should say. And so this is more fitted, and it's short, like the yellow coat. And then this will be worn over the black tank top. So those are the two options. You can choose whichever one you like the best and you're more comfortable sewing. So I just thought I would go over those two pieces. To put the coat together, it's going to be very similar in the first steps we do for our prep sewing is of course going to be putting the facings together with right sides together. We'll put those together at the shoulders like so. Get that done. I have to assemble all these little pieces, so this will be a lot of tedious sewing that I'll probably clip the pieces together and then just going around the side, point, and back because I want the ends so I can turn them. Then I will trim away some of the seam allowance and then turn it right side out, and then they will be top stitched around the edge to help hold it flat. So I have a whole bunch of these little guys to put together. Then I will be putting the collar together with right sides together, and I will be sewing from one end across the top edge of the collar and down the other side. then I will trim some of that seam allowance, flip it right side out, and top stitch it. Once it's top stitched, I will be basting the two pieces together at the bottom inside the seam allowance just to hold it straight. Then I fold it in half and I clip the center back, and then make some clips just to make it easier to maneuver around. On the front and back of the coat, there's a couple options. I'm not decided yet if I'm going to put all these on before I put the jacket front and the back together at the shoulders. It's kind of one of those things that I could do it either way, because if I've only done the shoulder seam and then flip it out, then I can top stitch it. Then I kind of have a better idea of where that seam is going to be on the front when I choose where to put all the little placards on the front of the coat. So I may go ahead and do that, but I like to get these put on before I actually start assembling more of the coat, because it's easier to work on a flat surface. On the sleeves, I will be taking care of the end, and I'll have to look back at the photos. I believe there's one of these on the sleeve as well, so that will be attached. I will baste 2 lines across the top. Sorry, my voice is getting so scratchy. And that will enable this to be fitted into the armhole with a little bit less fussiness, because it kind of gathers it evenly so that it's ready to curve into that opening. So that's all the prep work I need to do. I'll get those all that sewing done, and then we'll kind of get everything together and take a look at our next order of business. We now have this much finished. So I have all the little placards are done, and I've sewn them on. I just kind of chose the spacing that I wanted, because I went ahead and made 4 for the front on each side. If you want 3, you can do that. It's kind of whatever you would like to do. So I measured where I wanted the first one to start, and they're roughly 5/8 of an inch wide. So I just measured 5/8 of an inch, and then I have 3/8 of an inch between each one. So I just put markings on the very edge of my fabric, and then just laid them down and stitched them in place. Then I did have these little square, they sort of look kind of square, shiny beads. I can't remember if I got them from Walmart or Joann. Yeah, and it doesn't say on here. It might have been Joann, but there are lots of colors in here. There's like gold, purple, blue, and then kind of a steely color, and so they're a little bit iridescent, and I thought they would look good kind of on this purple, but they still have more of a, I don't know, shiny, fun look to them. But the purple ones look like they would fit the tone of the jacket. So I have the front done, I have the shoulders top stitched, so that's ready to go. So this is the body of the coat, so that much is done. Then on the sleeves, I went ahead and hemmed, and I went ahead and did 2 lines of top stitching, just because, I don't know, it seemed like there was kind of an excess of seam allowance here after I did the first row of top stitching, and I didn't want like a thumb to get caught on it or something, so I did the second row, but that's what it looks like. And then I went ahead and put the little placard on with one of the little beads on the sleeves as well. Just make sure when you do the sleeves that you put the little placards on the opposite sides, because one sleeve will be like this on this side, and then the other will go on this side of the jacket. So if you have both the placards on the same side, then one will be on the outside of the sleeve, and then the other arm will have it on the inside. So you want to make sure that you put them on so you can have them both either on the outside or the inside, but your coat will match. So when you're putting them on, just remember When you're looking at it, you want them to be on opposite sides of the sleeve. So that much is done. I haven't basted the top yet, but I'll still do that. Then I have the collar finished, so I went around that, top stitched it, and basted this, and then I didn't baste it, I actually just stitched it. But then I did snip along this edge, so there's little tabs there. And then around the neckline, I made little tabs so this can open, which just makes it easier to feed into a machine, because you can kind of straighten that out a little bit easier when you're going to sew the whole thing. So I went around the neck there. On the facing, I finished the edge of the cotton fabric with some overlock stitching, just so that it's a finished edge. And then I also basted around the neckline and then clipped that as well to the stitching. Let's see here. Get my finger so it can show. So that that will open as well when we're putting the facing in with the collar. Okay, so my next order of business is I was thinking about the closure on this jacket. And because of the way these little placards sit, I don't, and because it's pointed, I don't want this to overlap at all. And so instead, I am going to be using a separating zipper so that it'll have a zipper closure like on the red jacket that we did. So again, just in case you're new to sewing, or you're new to the channel, or you haven't watched that one yet, or whatever might be the case, with a separating zipper, they are more expensive, and they're made for an opening that's going to come apart like on a coat, because the part that makes it more expensive, this is just the normal closure that you'd have on a zipper, or not closure, but the normal end of the teeth here. But the part you're paying for is the little gizmo at the bottom. I'm not even sure what that would be called, but it enables the zipper to come apart. So when you have a separating zipper, it allows both of the sides of the zipper to be completely separated, hence the name. So when you're sewing, and even if it's too long, like this is clearly longer than the opening of my coat, the part that you want to be careful, you never want to cut it off, is the part at the bottom, because this is where your jacket will be able to connect. There we go. And then zip up. So you want to make sure that you don't cut off this edge. This end we can cut off so that we can fit it to length, cut off the top, and then you can put some threads over it, or put a bead at the top, or simply sew it into a seam, and that will be fine as long as you have something at the top that would prevent the zipper from sliding off. And so here they have this little metal piece, but you can actually sew a bead to the top, which I have often done, and I'll probably end up having one of these beads just sewn at the top wherever that might be. And then when I have my coat unzipped, then this can't just come off the jacket, because it will be held in place because of a bead, or the end will be sewn, so that this can't come off. But this part you never want to cut off. So what I'll probably do to put the zipper on is I'm going to leave it so that it's not, I'm not going to baste these together just because it's really thick that way. But I'm going to have the zipper pull tie towards the good side of my coat, and I'm going to lay the zipper down, and it is going to overlap the edge of the seam, or the edge of the raw edge of fabric. So the zipper will extend just a little bit. And then I'm going to baste that on, or like with longer stitches, sew it into place. And then this will be able to kind of move up and down to get it out of the way of my sewing. So I'll probably come down to where this edge is just a little bit above that point. I'm thinking, well, I might need to be a little taller. There we go, a little higher up. The reasoning is when I sew the zipper on, this is going to be caught in the seam of the facing, which will be sewn here. And on the facing, I need to be able to come down to, let me get my tweezers. Woo! Let's see, when it's together, I'm going to sew straight down to here, and then I'm going to pivot and sew back up on the hemline here. So I don't want the lumpy part of my zipper to be in the way of my zipper foot, because then it wouldn't go over it, and I don't want it to mess up stitching. I will be using a zipper foot, which is more narrow, so a zipper foot looks like this. There's lots of different kinds, but essentially instead of sewing in the center of the foot, you sew on either side depending on what side of the zipper you're putting on. So I'm going to be using a zipper foot, so when I come down to sew, I'll be going in this little hole here, I'm going to sew, and then this can come and pass by that little knob on my zipper and not make everything like shuffle to the side or get caught and jam up my needle or anything. So the zipper of the coat won't go all the way down to the end, but pretty much as far down as it can, and still be sewn in place without hindering my ability to sew down and then come up on the hem there. So it is a little bit of finagling. I'll probably base the zipper on first, because then it won't shuffle and move when it's time to put this in place. Then I can secure that on. But I'm only going to take a very narrow hem, just like I did here, because then once everything is finished and it turns out, I don't want to have any ugly stitches showing on the outside. So that's what I will do first, is to do one side. Once I get that done and get the facing ready, then I can turn that this way and match it up with this side of the coat so that I know where to place this side so my zipper lines up correctly. So it's a little bit of handwork as far as shuffling and getting it all placed, but then it has a nice zipper opening. So that's what we're going to do next. Now that the zipper is basted in, we can see that the bottom looks like it will be pretty level, and it will go in deeper once we put the facing in, so it will turn out a little bit more. But there we have this. These ones aren't really level right now because it's going to be sewn up into when we put the facing, or the facing on as well. So that will even out then. Let's see. So I think we're pretty good. I may go ahead and if it ends up being a little bit off, I'll maybe make some adjustments to the hemline and the collar just to make sure that it sits right on the coat. But there we have the zipper started, and now it's ready to go ahead and put in the collar, which will start at the center back and clip to the front so we can get the collar in. And then once the collar is in, we'll go ahead and put the facing in that will finish the front seams and go in further to not reveal quite as much of that zipper. The collar is now sewn into the jacket, and I've checked to make sure I don't have any pleats in the body of the jacket, and it all looks good. The next step is going to be to sandwich the collar between the right side of the coat body and the right side of the facing. So I'm going to sandwich it like this, and I'm going to match the center back first with the notches that I have in the back and the collar and the facing for the center back, and I'll clip that. Then I'm going to work my way out, matching the shoulder seam on the facing with the shoulder seam of the coat so that I know it's pulled correctly in the right spot. And I'm going to need one of my heavier clips for that one because it's kind of thick. Then I'm going to work all the way to the corner, and what I want to do is, let me think here, I think I'm going to take out a couple stitches and angle the zipper to the outside or raw edge of the coat, because I don't want this little guy to be tagged, and I think I need it to turn out so it can't get caught in my collar. Because then, let's see, I'm just thinking, well, maybe it would work. No, I don't think it would. So I don't want this to catch in this top part, because then it would be stuck and it wouldn't turn out. So I'm going to go ahead and angle that. So let's grab a seam ripper, and we're just going to do a gentle angle on the top part. So we're going to take out a couple of those stitches because it's just kind of angled in, or I mean it's just kind of stay stitched in there. So I'm going to pull and angle this like so, so that this seam will go over the top and that the end of the zipper will be caught in the seam allowance. That way when we turn the coat out, it will do this. It'll turn into the seam allowance, and then I'll put one of those little beads at the top of each side to keep the zipper from going off the top. But I think that's what I'll do, is I'm just going to pull it gently so that my seam, when I put the facing on and go straight up the side, then my seam is actually going to catch the teeth in that seam allowance like this, and that way my zipper will have an end that's finished inside the coat and won't have this raw edge sticking out and looking kind of wonky. So that's what I'm going to do on both sides. This will kind of buckle just a little bit, but it won't be too bad. So it's only about not even 1/4 of an inch, maybe 3/16 of an inch, that's going to be inside that seam allowance. And I think that will give the nicest finish that I want. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to do next, is get this, and here I can pin it because it's in the seam allowance. And so I'll get that anchored in place where I want it to be, and then I'll put the facing over the top like this, so that when I sew it, you can see how I can see those teeth, and I know that they're going to be out of outside the coat, and the inside will look nice then when I flip it right side out. And then I'll go across the bottom and then up the front, across the neckline, down the other side, and I will be having to stop when I get so far and move this up out of the way, then continue, and being careful to go around this little knob at the bottom and then over this side as well. So that's my next step, is to get the facing on and get that zipper so that it looks nice and has no raw edges or raw teeth sticking out. Now that the front is done, the zipper is in, the collar's in, my next point of business will be to put in the sleeves. So I will baste the top in 2 rows of basting along the top of the sleeve and kind of gather a little bit. Then I will smooth out those gathers as I start clipping, or I may pin like inside the seam allowance from the outside of this arm and then the other outside of the arm, and then work my way up to the center, and that way any extra puckers will be at the top, because I'll be smoothing it out on those gathers as I go ahead and get it attached so I can put the sleeves in on each side. Once the sleeves are on the sides, I will turn it inside out. Here, we'll turn it so we can get a look at it here. So once the sleeves are attached, then I will sew from the cuff of the sleeve up to the underarm and down the side seam. And then once those seams are done, all that's left to do is to finish turning up my hem and then hem the jacket from this side all the way around and come back to this side. I may go ahead and add a little bit of top stitching from here down to about here, just to kind of help hold that flat. In retrospect, I think next time if I make another one of these, because it kind of end up puckering a little bit here, I probably won't attach this end of the tabs until I have the zipper in and the sleeves in, because it does produce a little bit of a pucker here since I pre-did these tabs. But I can't really take it out now because it would shift this way and then there'd be holes in the vinyl, and I don't want holes to show. So I can't really take them out because of the fabric I'm using. If this was all cloth, I could easily just cut these little knots and then move it over. But because it's vinyl, I can't do that. But all that to say is I wouldn't tack these down, and then I would be able to top stitch from the top down to the bottom. But it's, yeah, it would be kind of hard. Well, yeah, maybe I'll try that next time. So just not attaching this side, even though it kind of keeps the tabs out of the way while I'm trying to get the zipper in. It might be worth the hassle to not put those down yet, so it's easier to have availability for top stitching and then fold them over. So it just kind of depends on what you want to do, but I think I may end up top stitching just here to hold that flat. It's not exactly 100% even, but the top is a little bit, the top looks good. I just might move one bead up a little taller so that it looks a little bit more even, because as it is, one bead is lower, so I may end up moving this guy up. But yeah, so I'm happy with it so far. I'll get the sleeves in and then do the side seams and go ahead and hem it all up, and we'll take a look at the finished jacket. Here is our finished purple look. So we have the jacket done, and I did take the one bead off and then kind of adjust it. Hopefully my camera won't be too blurry, so that it looks more even when the zipper is all the way at the top. So I did make that adjustment. And then if we unzip the jacket, and let's see if I can do this with one hand. There we go. And so then we have the tank top underneath, and I just hemmed those. I did end up hemming the sleeve arm openings. There's no sleeve, but the arm openings before I did the side seams, just because it was easier to go ahead and hem that while the shirt was all still open. And then I just was real careful under the arm to make sure that that matched, so I don't have any edges sticking up there at the side seam. So here's the front of the jacket. Then the sleeves, I had the little placard coming from the inside on the front of the sleeve. The pants are the slim pants with no front pleat, but they do have the front pocket. Then they have the dart to fit in the back, and then the back of the coat is just plain. There's no yoke or anything on the back. So pretty simple all in all for the purple outfit. It's just that the little placards take a lot of time, and it does take a little bit of effort to make sure your zipper is in straight. So that is the purple outfit. yeah, and so we have one more set to do, which will be the pink jacket. And yeah, then our series will be complete. So thanks for coming along, and I will see you next time. Bye.